What's up, enthusiasts? It's your boy Rob back with another video. And no, I am not the Andrew Tate of the tabletop hobby. I am a guy with an eye issue. Left eye has been giving me severe issues, and I'm putting on the sunglasses because it's been a long time since I've made a video. I said I cannot prolong this anymore. I need to get back on YouTube. I need to make some more content for you guys, the community, all the enthusiasts out there. And so here I am with the glasses. This won't be a permanent fixture unless for whatever reason you guys like it, and maybe I'll do it from here on out. I don't know, it could be like a thing. But guys, let's get into this video.
Raise your hand if you've read the entire Dungeon Master's Guide. Don't lie to me.
Now, I have read the 4th edition. I read all of 3.5, and I've read all of 4th edition. 3.5 because I was in the hospital at the time, and 4th edition because I just thought you were supposed to. Now, 5th edition, no, I've not read 5th edition from cover to cover. I've kind of took little bits and pieces throughout the book. I leave a lot of the like gods and all that kind of stuff. I leave all that stuff alone. I usually just make up that kind of stuff myself, or I really don't even focus on it in my campaigns. But let's see where she's going with this.
Put your hand down. I polled more than 20,000 of you guys, and only 21% of you have read the whole DM's guide for whatever edition you run. That's right, if you put 10 Dungeon Masters in a room together, only 2 of them will have read the entire DMG.
Now that's pretty interesting because I would have thought that most players, or especially DMs, would have read the DMG, especially if you're that person that is making that commitment, that financial commitment, to buy all of the books. I would just assume you're going to read all of the books, or most people would. Again, me, by the time I read all of the PHP and flip through most of the Monster Manual, which for me, Monster Manual is just entertaining. I usually will find the monsters I need for like the night before campaign. But let's keep going.
Also, one of them apparently brings their own sheets to hotels. Fucking weirdo. Until last week.
I mean, I bring my own pillows, but that's not my choice. That's my wife. She wants to bring her own pillows. I don't stop her. I love her anyway.
I was like most of you. I'd skimmed the 5th edition DMG and read specific sections when I needed them, and I honestly didn't feel like I was missing much. But now I've become an arch DM, or whatever you call the people who are either bored enough or obsessive enough to read a 300-page reference book cover to cover. And lo and behold, there's some really helpful stuff in here.
And I've always felt like that with 4th edition, which is quiet, everyone. Don't tell everyone this. Lean in. 4th edition is my favorite edition. I actually like the way they handled powers in the 4th edition, even though I've probably played more 5th edition than anything else, probably because it's been around longer than anything else, or at least of the 2 editions I played.
Problem is, that helpful stuff is buried in a poorly organized, bloated mess of a book that can't figure out what it's trying to be, which means there were things in here that would have really helped me that I just didn't know to look for. Hidden gems that were...
I will say this, if you have not read the Dungeon Master's Guide, you need to at least page through it because there is a lot of helpful things there.
Missing out on, because this book front loads 26 pages about the planes of existence before it even mentions encounter design. But don't worry, I'm not going to tell you to read the entire book. I am not your 4th grade teacher. Shout out to Mrs. Mack, I can only aspire to be that cool. I am glad I read it, and I do wish I'd read it earlier, but there were also huge chunks of it that I did.
At this point, if you haven't read it yet, I'm going to say don't read it. Don't waste your time. If you know you're going to get the 2024
find helpful or necessary. Instead, I'm gonna share 10 sections that I wish I'd known about before. And I'm not talking about the obvious stuff like encounter balancing tables or magic items. If you've read anything, that's the stuff you've read. I'm talking about the...
Listen, guys, there's nothing better than making your own magic items. If you've not taking the time to make your own magic items, even if you get some inspiration from the Dungeon Master Guide or somewhere else out in our crazy hobby, making your own magic items, it's just so fulfilling. You got to do it. You just got to try it.
kind of stuff that isn't in the index. Those weird little sections and tables that are just snuck into the middle of some other chapter. Those parts that could really solve problems for DMs, but that you have to already know about in order to find. First up, renown. These are optional rules nested in the section about factions and organizations. The idea is that characters have reputations with various groups, and you're giving that reputation a score. So let's say you're a rogue and you're connected to a local thieves guild. We'll call it the Crooked Key.
Renown is something you see in a lot of tabletop games. It's a nice resource to have. It's with role playing. It's a good way to give the players a sense of their character having status in your world.
When you complete tasks that benefit the guild, you'll gain renown with them, bringing you up through the ranks. Maybe when you first join, you're just a tumbler, but once you've gained your first 3 points of renown, you advance to the rank of deadlock. Now, when you interact with members of the Crooked Key, they have a base level of trust in you. Maybe they're willing to fence hard-to-sell items for you, since they know you're not a rat. But only once you advance to the next rank of gatekeeper will you get perks like direct access to black market contacts, or the ability to send tumblers on missions of your own.
One thing I would do is, especially if I'm playing with a group of people and we all kind of were in the same friend group outside of tabletop hobby, I will kind of model a character or NPC after someone we all mutually know, or at least 1 or 2 people around the table know. So that way they can be like, oh, this is essentially, Jeff from down the street, or the one that, or Kim that works with us. And in that way, they've kind of got a visual or mental picture or description of this NPC and their personality. So try that. Try using people you actually know or your group actually knows and working them into your story. Obviously, fluffing it up a little bit to make them fit into the theme of your game.
This is that it makes being part of an organization actually fun and makes it really matter in the game. I've never prioritized being a member of a temple or a guild or anything like that in a D&D game because I never felt like that would matter much. But with this system, players have transparency into how their actions are affecting their rank. They're given secondary motivators that can complicate their decision-making processes, and they're getting material rewards for their choices. There's a similar system on the next page called Piety, which is basically the same thing but for gods. I will say though, I don't love keeping track of yet another number, so this would be something I'd probably have.
With deities, I'll let my players, if that's something they're really focused on, that's the one thing I'll let my players contribute to the game or to the world creation is any deities or anything like that they want to say that their character worships, they pray to, and I'll let them just write down a few bullet points of what this deity is to them and what it means and stuff like that. So it's a really good way to get your players involved and have something that's theirs and that they know, that way as a DM and how you can implement that God into your world, but the player who has their character has a bond with this deity.
Next up, planar portals. I know I talked trash about the planes chapter, but this part actually really grabbed me. It's just one page about any stationary interplanar link, what they might look like, and how they might be guarded, activated, and accessed. I think it's very easy to picture all portals as glowy Doctor Strange circles, which makes them feel a lot like a video gamey shortcut. But this section reminded me that portals can be much more narrative than.
She is right about that, and using that Doctor Strange reference, which now with MCU being so big as it is these last several years, that's what a lot of people think about, especially if they don't really play a lot of role-playing games. They're just going to try to associate what's going on the table with what they know out in mass media. And so, yeah, we're going to get a lot of Doctor Strange portals. And so giving them just a different visual would be great. It comes in handy. So, yeah, she's right.
than that. A portal can be a doorway between worlds, but it can also be something much weirder, like a ship or a town. It may have a mystical guardian who needs to be convinced or tricked or fought in order to pass through. And there's a whole list of different ways that a portal might be opened. Everything from you must speak the command word to this portal only opens when a particular constellation is overhead. As a DM, I'm sometimes hesitant to introduce a portal for fear of my players suddenly being able to teleport or plane hop whenever they want. But
yeah, so that's why I never really introduce any portals that my players will have access to or full access to. This has to be something that it has to be behind lock and key. All right, because just like she mentioned, you know, if you present them with that ability, they're going to exploit it right at the most inopportune time for you as a DM. So make sure if you do implement portals that it's not something that, you know, it's not like a vehicle that your players have access to. Like they've got the keys to it. They can just jump into the DeLorean and then they're out of there. Like, don't do that. Don't do that at all. You know, make sure this thing is something that it has to be a rigorous like journey to get to it or to access it in any way.
How you're about to be unknowingly sent through a portal to today's sponsor.
The sponsor.
Yes! My Saut de Fleur dress arrived just in time to wear to dinner tonight. This is from their new fall-winter collection. Obviously.
Dude, this channel it's so like girly, so like poppy, like it's cute. It's cute because, you know, for me, like usually if you're watching anything that has to do with role playing Dungeons and Dragons, it's kind of got like more of a ominous, like dark tone. And so it's kind of refreshing to see like her take on this, Ginny D.
I'm a huge nerd, so I'm gonna use it as part of a fantasy costume. But tonight, I gotta cosplay as a normal person, and it's great for that too. Dang it, this always happens to me. I mean, yeah, this
Dude, how many of you guys have like a significant other that is into role playing or cosplay? I think that's just the coolest thing. My wife, she is not having it, especially for fantasy. She is not a fantasy person at all. She like, it would be a miracle for me to get my wife to dress up, you know, in any sort of like outfit like that. And except for Halloween. So except for Halloween, I could possibly get her to do like an elf for Halloween. I should try that. I should really try that. We're gonna give that more thought though.
certified natural linen is so timeless and sustainable that an elf ranger would undoubtedly love it. But I probably shouldn't wear this to dinner.
That's what's
Come on, this is even worse. I definitely can't wear plate armor to a restaurant. No matter how much wearing these ethically sourced fabrics and supporting slow fashion makes me feel like a paladin championing artisans. Normal person, Ginny. Normal person. There we go. I knew this dress could suit all kinds of occasions.
Bro, like, oh my God, she just in that dress with just the belt gives me it's a DC character. I think her name is like Hex or something like that. I could be wrong, but she gives me this vibes of that character. I gotta find this character. I'll find her, and actually, you know what? I'm gonna look for that model real quick. I got to. Go off on a tangent and do things like this. My bin of hero clicks that I've rebased, random models, and then when I like to play Heroes Among Us, I have more than enough. Oh, her name's not on it. All right, guys, so this was the character that I was getting the vibes for when I saw Ginny in that purple dress. I don't know this character's name because I rebased her, but if you guys play Hero Clicks and you know who this is, then maybe I should like paint her hair that blue color her hair is, that turquoise. That'd be kind of cool, and then brighten her skin up some. Yeah, should we do that? We should do that. All right, let's get back on track with this video.
Now no one at dinner will know I'm a weird nerd. Whether you're going for fashion or fantasy, Sewn to Floor's new fall-winter collection isn't just stylish, it's also good for the earth and the people who live on it.
It's good for
Use
the
the
earth,
code
guys.
15
If it's
Ginny
good
to
for the
take
earth, you gotta
15%
get it.
off your order through September
Or
25th.
for the ladies.
Check out the description
Christmas is
for
coming.
details.
So Christmas is coming up. That would be a nice gift for your partner, if they're into that.
Welcome back from your interplanar journey. Let's talk about moral quandaries. Lots of DMs are interested in giving their players a tough choice, something that challenges them no matter how high level and powerful they are. The kind of decision where no matter what they do, there will be some kind of consequence, and they just have to decide which consequences they're willing to accept. This section offers up 5 types of quandaries, like the ally quandary, in which you need 2 different allies in order to accomplish your goal, but they refuse to work together. The party has to choose which ally they're willing to go without and figure out how to fill in that gap. Or the rescue quandary, in which the party can either stop the villain or save innocents, but cannot do both. If you choose to save lives, the villain gets away, but if you choose to take out the villain, innocent people.
But this really promotes like table talk, and I love it. I love when my players start bickering back and forth, and they're just like, "Hey, no, we." And it's like a divide, you know, especially if you have like a larger group. But if you've got like 5, 7, maybe 8 players, which I always think is too much, the only issue you could run into is them actually splitting the party. So you could run into that issue, so be careful with it.
Next, we're checking out special features for magic items. This section is just a set of 4 rolling tables for magic items.
Yeah.
Who created it, what's its history, what minor property does it have, and what's its quirk. You can use any of or all of these tables to customize a magic item.
I tend to lean towards a low magic setting, so I don't necessarily want magic items being just given out all willy-nilly, and you can just come across one like it's like fruit at a grocery store. You know, it's like, no, I kind of want magic items to be rare and very sparse when it comes to being found. So
Other rewards. I think we've all experienced loot and treasure feeling less exciting the further you get into a game. At first you have no money and you have no items, so finding a cache of gold or a cool object feels awesome. The longer you play and the more wealth your characters collect, the more extreme the rewards need to be in order for them to be motivating.
I never use that as a motivator for my players. Once they go into their first dungeon, they've got their loot. What's really motivating them to continue on to other dungeons? I've been in situations where I wasn't the DM. Some of the players are like, well, we got all the money we need, and they wanted to hang out at the tavern. Like, I want to actually have a genuine reason to want to explore this world that the DM was creating for us. As I became a DM, I kind of stripped that away from my games. I replaced it with rewards that have more of a sentimental value to the players.
Okay, this next one's just a little guy improvising damage. It's just 2 short tables. One gives examples of what kinds of damage might be dealt by random things, like being burned by hot coals, falling into a vat of acid, or wading through a stream of lava. You know, just normal day-to-day experiences for an adventurer. The other one offers a quick reference for how deadly that damage is depending on character level. So you know that collapsing a tunnel on top of your 4th level characters will kill them, but collapsing a tunnel on your 15th level characters will just be an inconvenience. This
is why I just don't play past like 9th level, or maybe we can go to 10. But like at the point that characters can survive an avalanche, I don't know. Something about high level play has never sat right with me. And I know that's just me. Again, I'm like a Conan the Barbarian, low magic setting kind of guy.
is one of those things that experienced DMs can probably come up with off the cuff, but for beginners, just having a little context of what these damage numbers look like as actual injuries is super helpful, especially when you're first learning the game. 1d4 damage versus 2d12 damage versus 10d6 damage can feel really abstract. If a player pushes an enemy into a fireplace during combat, you might not know how much damage to roll. This is the kind of table I think a new DM should be able to find and check in seconds at any time.
Helpful hint, my guys. You don't know how much damage a particular event should inflict on a player. Just roll 2d6. If it's something more lethal, you add a d6. Can't ever go wrong with just rolling some d6.
Now we'll flip ahead just a few pages to chases. This one, like a few others on this list, is technically in the index, so it's on me for missing it up until now, but
Bro, so any chase situation, I'm telling you guys right now, if I need a character to get away, or if I need a villain to get away, he's going to get away. All right? He's going to get away. I don't care what some list, some chart is going to tell me. I'm not going to roll on any chart. If I need this character, this villain, this bad guy, this protagonist or antagonist, excuse me, to escape, he's going to escape. He knows all about his lair or wherever they are. He knows all about the back streets of the city we are in. He is going to get away. All right. Don't turn to charts for every single thing, because then your game becomes very stale and your players are going to be expecting to roll on a chart for every single thing, or they're going to see that you are looking at a chart for every single thing. Be able to pull these stories out of your brain, guys. Come on.
I wanted to mention it because as both a player and a DM, I've always found chases frustrating because I didn't know there were rules for them. As a player, it sucks to have somebody run away from you and to be basically just told that they're gone and you can't chase them. And as a DM,
that doesn't suck. That does not suck. I'm telling you this, guys, I'm telling you this right now. If you have a situation and your players are chasing your main villain and he gets away, that just tells them that we're going to see him again. We know he is the boss. We know he's the guy we're looking for. We are going to catch up to him again. They're not going to be like, oh, woe is me. We might as well go back to the tavern. He got away. We'll never catch him again. Let's just go drown our sorrows in a pint of ale.
I just kind of assumed everyone would dash perpetually and whoever had the most movement speed would win. And if the target and their pursuer had the same movement speed, it would just be an exercise in futility. Just two parties moving in parallel until one of them gave up. Turns out there's a pretty straightforward system for this. Participants can dash, but depending on their constitution score, may eventually get exhausted. Making attacks or casting spells while chasing or being chased obviously slows you down. And there are also rules for things like the target trying to hide and lose their
Right. Who wants to even deal with all that? Like, I don't. I want my games to have a nice, steady pace, not getting bogged down because someone is trying to figure out if they can cast a spell while this guy's running and they're running after them and everything around is going on. And I don't know. I can barely comprehend how my spell is supposed to work when I'm standing still, but now my character is running and ducking and dodging things. But I want to no, we're not doing all that. This guy ran, he's going to get away, or he's not going to get away. That's up to me. You want to chase him, roll a die, see if you catch him.
Poisons. This is actually a section I was aware of already, but I constantly see people online who don't seem to know about this list. In fact, I recently read a thread on Reddit where people were arguing about poison being boring in D&D, and I had to scroll a shockingly long time to find someone who knew about these pages and mentioned them. It's just a list of 14 sample poisons. Everything from contact poisons, to poisons that need to be ingested or inhaled, to poisons that are applied with a weapon through an injury. There are unique effects beyond just damage, like Malice, which is inhaled and causes blindness and the poisoned condition, or Midnight Tears, which is ingested and deals no damage until the stroke of midnight. This section is shockingly complete compared to what I would expect from the DMG at this point. Okay, this last one isn't going to be for everyone, but it sounded really fun to me and I've never heard of it before. Plot points. These are a resource, points awarded to players that they can spend in order to influence the plot of the game. It allows them to temporarily—
My boys, you guys know your boy Rob does not care for plot points or bennies or whatever they're called in your system. They never sit right with me. I don't want the players to have like this monetary system that allows them to manipulate the game in a way it's not intended, or manipulate the story, I should say, in a way that I guess I can't control. I guess you could say, oh, well, you're the DM. If a player wants to spend a plot point, Benny, whatever, to adjust the story to say, hey, maybe someone didn't get away, or maybe, hey, this building has a secret passage, or the dragon and I have a commonality, and now it'll fly me wherever I want it to take us. So I don't use plot points. We ain't using plot points. You need to be a good role player and just persuade me in character why something should work a certain way, or how you can finagle a situation. All right, that I want you to just be a competent player. I don't want you to say, I'm going to use this resource, I'm cashing this resource, and now I get to open a portal somewhere because I knew that there's a magical. I'm not letting you make stuff up. All right, I'm already making everything up. We're already role playing. There needs to be some rails that we have to confide to. Okay, we have to stay within these lanes. All right, let's stay in the lane. Let's role play. Let's have a good time. And don't you ever bring up those damn bennies or resource points or whatever they're called. Anything you want to call them. We're not bringing those up. Do you not? You don't bring those motherfuckers up.
Step into the Dungeon Master's territory and make narrative or world-building choices of their own. There are 3 options for how to use these points in a game. First, you can spend a point to add some twist or new element to the game. For example, when your players are visiting a shop, one of them might spend a plot point to say that there's a secret back room with items for sale that aren't strictly legal. You then accept.
Guys, don't discard that immediately. If you see whatever your chosen system is, if you see some sort of plot points, discard that rule immediately.
That new element and incorporate it into the game, deciding what items are for sale in that room and what this means about the shopkeeper who manages it. If this feels too much like players getting free wish fulfillment, you can complicate the use of plot points with the second option, the plot thickens. With this option, after a player spends a plot point, the player to their right needs to add a complication. So yes, there's a
Guys, I know she's just telling us what's in the DMG, and I know she's got 700 subscribers, so she's got to know something. Maybe she's just a pretty face. I don't know. But again, if I find out that you guys are letting someone use a plot point and then going to this plot thickens and letting the player beside that player make up a complication, because, why would they make up a complication that would really be of any real measures when they are all working towards the same goal? There are certain things, there are certain rules that just don't work in a role-playing game, and that's one of them. It's just one of them. And I know people are in the comments right now saying, well, I use it all the time, it works just fine. And I guess maybe for some people somewhere out there in the world, yes, it works, but not at my table. Not at my table.
The third option is particularly wild and sounds like it could be a lot of fun for a specific type of group and a specific type of game. It's called The Gods Must Be Crazy, and in this variant, there is no permanent DM, and you spend a plot point in order to take over as the Dungeon Master.
Alright, I must have missed that. Alright, I definitely missed that in the DMG. I want to go and see if I can reference that right now. Maybe it was such a bad idea, I totally just scrubbed it from my brain. But there's no reason for you to, in the middle of a session, transfer the role of Dungeon Master to a player. Now, I'm not saying you can't do something like that in its own creative way, in a campaign that is specifically designed for it. Meaning, if you were to do like a West March campaign and you say, okay, every other session we switch Dungeon Master, giving everyone a chance to be the Dungeon Master, it's actually a really good exercise. I think that is the only circumstance that you would want to do something like that. But if we're saying, and maybe I need to hear her all the way out, but if we're saying you run the game for like 15-20 minutes and then someone else starts to run the game, no, I think that just, I don't know.
That's not even close to all the thoughts I had going through the Dungeon Master's Guide, but honestly, 10 things is probably already too much for a single video. I would suggest you pick out 2 or 3 of these things that grabbed your attention and go look at them in more detail. You know, when I ran my Have You Read the DMG poll and read comments about the results, I saw a few people dismissively label this as a people hate reading thing, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't think that's why people don't read the DMG. This book is kind of a slog. There were so many times when I would break off in the middle of a paragraph to
it's been so long since I read the DMGs. Obviously, the first one, 3.5, I read back in like 2011. I got to D&D really late, and by the time when I read 3.5, it was already dead. I didn't know it was dead. In the hospital, someone brought me books to read, and those were 3 of the books. The 3 core books were the books they brought. So I came out of the hospital thinking that was D&D. So, and then didn't find out until months into playing that, hey, there's actually a 4th edition, and 5th edition will be coming out soon. So yeah.
Page ahead and see how much longer I had until the next chapter. If I weren't reading it for a video, there were several spots where I would have just given up. And I love reading. I have an English degree. I just finished reading Middlemarch for fun. Your pier glass or extensive surface of polished now again made to be below the center.
She's got a lot of plants in her house, I bet. Like, I got like 1 plant downstairs and it's damn near dead. Yeah, it's pretty sad. Alright guys, so this was a long video, so I'm going to leave it there. If you have not already, like and subscribe, and give Ginny D a subscribe, but with 700 subscribers, you probably already have. So guys, I will see you for the next one. Thank you for bearing with me. The sunglasses are here for this video, and for, I guess, any video I make within this week. Other than that, see you when I see you.